to the final of the Australian Mixed Ultimate Championships. I'm Claire Hussey, bringing you this game with Andrew Moroney. Who have we got?
Today we've got Wagon out of Newcastle and Pompey Magnus out of Sydney. I don't think there'd be too many surprises. Are you surprised to see these two in the final? I don't think.
I'm not, but I think that a lot of the teams here, the spectators here, would have possibly hoped for a Calypsquid in the final, but that wasn't ever going to be an option with the way the draw went. But yeah, from watching both of these two teams play through the weekend, they're definitely the right teams to be here, in my opinion.
Agreed. So we're going to jump straight into the action. Chris Hill from Wagon. Wagon in dark to the right will be pulling Pompey Magnus in white, starting the first offensive team. Denya picks up, he throws a worm burner to Henry Thomas. Henry Thomas swings it out wide and gets it back. So a junk being played for the first. Tim Hayes had a sniff at that one from Henry Thomas, but it comes out wide. They make it work. That's Gav with the disc, Gav Moore. It looks like they've collapsed into a matched offence now. Tim Hayes marking Henry Thomas, who throws the flick across and hits Mike Neal. Mike Neal with the throw and go to Henry Thomas. One out the back. I think it's Danny Alexander out the back. Gav trying to get a little bit of an ISO going, and Gav gets the goal off Henry Thomas.
That's the offence that we've been seeing from Pompey Magnus all weekend. Very smooth, very easy. Barely look troubled. And they're bright whites. Wagon, fresh off very good performance at World Clubs this year. They finished 9th at World Clubs and got a lot of the same players still out here rocking in their very, very controlled fashion. Whereas Pompey Magnus, mixture of a few previous champions of the mixed title. Many of them have played, well, about 4 of them have played with Frisky, who've won the last 3 years under various different guises. And there's a few old faces out there who've yet to win since the early 2000s. Vidler was just telling me about earlier. Him and Wentworth are looking for another title after all these years.
That's a long time in the wilderness, although some of us have been there longer, so at least they've won one. Huss, conditions not as trying as I think this morning or certainly the rest of the weekend. We were watching the 3-stack drill from I-beam. Sorry, that won't be the last time I do that. Oops, I apologise. From Wagon, and most of them completions.
Yeah, they'll be. I mean, I think both teams don't mind the win, but it's always going to be a prettier game with a bit less, more completed throws. As progress is made up for Wagon to Greening. Greening's got a bit of a mess in front of people a bit too close, finds Lavis. He's got all the throws, goes for Greenie, looking nice and svelte, finds the undercut. Up the line again to Stoddard. Stoddard's got a Mel mark on her. Finds an easy one to Lavis, who's unmarked.
Smooth offense from both teams so far, no turns, 1-1. Hussey and I had the pleasure of doing the Magnus game yesterday, and that was some incredibly controlled and disciplined offense. I also did the I-beam game, the semi.
But you said you weren't going to do that again?
No, I said I most definitely will do it again. I'm going to keep a little tally. All right, times. Andrew sounds like a moron. The Wagon game, and their offense brought it on boring. That was how disciplined it was. It was no count past 5. Sending one person at a time, a lot of discipline. We'll get down to the field. We are joined today by Simon Talbot as well, who's going to bring us some insights from the sideline. Simon, lovely, beautiful day in Ballarat. We wouldn't have expected anything different. We're going to get to you in 1 sec, Simon. How's that? We might go for take 3 shortly.
Yep. All right, here we are now. Yeah, as we said, conditions this morning were very cold and windy, but the day has fined up. I'd say it's probably 16, 17. The breeze has died right off. Almost perfectly still down here. Great conditions for ultimate.
Have you got sun cream on your arms there, Simon?
No, I don't. I better do that.
Get in the shade.
I'll go stay in the shade.
And Thomas. Nice big inside break. Finds Neald. Got a cup around him. Thomas, Denya, Neild working it happily at the back. Nice one through to Ewan. Denya finds Neild all alone on the edge, but he goes for the greatest attempt. Uncompleted.
Wagon now with a chance to strike offensively, but there is going to be a call. It's going to have to come back. It was a weird one from Neil because he seemed like he was tracking it, and then all of a sudden realised he was out of room and had to go for the greatest.
Yeah, he had no run up on it, so he just had to do what he did from a static position.
Oh, I think his foot was on the line.
Yeah.
Anyway, is that what they're bringing it back for? Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
I think it wasn't actually a greatest.
Fair enough. So it will be a turn. This is going to be taken from the sideline rather than where Mike threw it back.
Is that a world's least great?
Well, if you're going to throw a greatest, you'd be wanting to try and hit your partner if you're doing it. And he tried. It was just over Danny Alexander's head. So, first turn. Who was throwing? Who threw that? No, Chris Hill with the disc. He looks long. Instead comes under. Davey being covered well by Denya, but Davey adjusts his cut, gets it in front, almost up and up the line. Handler cut, and now he sends one deep. It's a really nice throw. It might be a little bit too far. Nice bid. That was Anna Stoddard. But he just had a little bit too much on it. If you were to say there was a wind, as it has been all weekend, it's right to left. So a huck that high, the wind is going to take it a little bit more, and it just pushed it out of Stoddard's reach.
Bit of an uncomfortable landing, but I think she's okay. Pompey setting up an interesting setup. They've got a couple of women deep. They've got Neild isolated in the middle. Goes straight to him, finds Lacey with her cast on, having broken her wrist on Friday.
Are you serious?
Serious. And Denya working it up through Thomas.
It's a great inside break.
Alexander on the edge of the end zone.
High count.
Goes over the top and nicely collected by Thomas.
Well, it didn't look perfect, but they got the job done. High count, high kind of hit and hope from Danny.
Yeah, so Lacey Moore broke her, I think she did a scaphoid bone on Friday and got it patched up there with a nice cast and decided, I love Frisbee so much, I'm just going to play with it on.
That is hardcore. That is hardcore. So, first break of the game. Was that a break? I think it was. We'll find out. Pompey Magnus starting on D from the right hand side. Mostly clean offense from both teams so far, save for a couple of high counts. Pompey with the edge at the Magnus with the edge at the moment. 2-1. Pull goes up. It's a smooth one. Lavis is sitting underneath it. Lavis will regain it and probably hit either Stoddard or Greenie. He goes to Greenfield. Greenfield has 3 go deep for him in a pre-planned play that saw Folksy come in from on the under from a wide wing. Folksy unloads the lefty backhand. Hits Eliza Greening. Greening. 2 dumps go back. Greenfield is one of them. Greenfield puts his body in the way to make sure of it over Andrews. And then hits Stoddard. That's Jess Stoddard. Lovely low release to Greening. That's a great gainer. And then again, another gainer to Folksy. Folksy hits lefty. Lefty fakes the flick. He's got to wait for the stack to get back in. They've got 3 dumps back. Folksy does the right thing, gets up the line, gets out of the way, gets it, and that's an easy goal to Tim Lavis. That's what I'm talking about. That offense, boring's the wrong word because it's good to watch, but
sure.
It is so calm. And the unders, I mean, short of maybe where Greenie had to put his body in the way, there were no bids. There was no pressure being that Pompey Magnus were able to actually apply.
Yep.
Simon?
Thanks, Andrew. I'm not sure. I think I'm on again, am I?
You are absolutely
okay, sorry.
on.
So something I've noticed down here on the sideline, the chemistry of the offense of these two teams, everyone's constantly on the move. Rather than getting into a stack and staying stationary, waiting for a target, both teams are constantly on the move, but each knows who likes to go and when. There's a lot of verbal communication happening on the field. Don't think it comes through on a stream, but there's a lot of talk out there. With both teams on the move constantly, it's hard for defense to set up something and put pressure on.
Thanks, Simon. Yeah, very important communication. And both of these teams are very familiar with each other within their teams. Newcastle Wagon have, a very local team. Everyone, if you're living in Newcastle, that's the team to play for, and the best players make it onto the team.
It helps, doesn't it? These
Certainly
guys would have played with each other for years and years and years, like Greenie and Lavis. Even the Stoddards now have all had good time together. As Ryan Davey lets ball go.
Denya collecting the ball, finds Thomas. We've got very open Neild, but the throw doesn't fit the bill. Too low for diving Neild. And Davey's picking up for Wagon on the counter attack. Finds a big dump to Stu Sinclair. And
Unreal.
huge block from Mike Neild.
Unreal. Mike Neild, come to the party. We were just saying defensive blocks are going to be so important in this game where the offense is so smooth. Mike following up with his 5 goals in the semi-final, catching 5 goals this time, getting it done on the defensive side. There's a lovely bid. Hope we see that one again.
Well, another big bid on D. This time from Wagon's Ren. Just out of his reach though. Denya and Thomas trapped down here. The stack is a long way away, but Thomas finds a nice one through to Ewan, who goes far to the break side. Ewan digs out Alexander upfield. Alexander just wants a quick reset and
Neild's going.
Neild's off. Reading it over his head and read it better than Davey.
Mike Neild, that's why he's one of the best.
Block and score.
Very special. Cut nice and early. Davey doing what he could to apply pressure. Neild also always tracked that one in. It was going to be very hard to stop. Nice dish. Denya. Yeah, it's okay.
It's okay when you back your mate.
It's okay when your mate's 7 foot as well, with a 96 centimetre vertical. Huss, you were saying that it's been a little while in the wilderness for a couple of players, probably on both sides. When was your last national championship, either mixed or in the women's division?
You mean title?
Yeah.
I've never won mixed championships, but I won with Bauhaus. Well, it was Sporting Team Box Athletica United back then in 2014, so good old 4-year break for me.
Okay.
But
Not as long as others.
Not as long as others, no.
Deep pool, that'll be a brick, I think. Yeah. Too much on it. As we said before, if there is going to be a wind, it is slightly right to left, and if you're putting anything high, that disc is going to carry, and affords Wagon. Got it right, Huss.
Well done.
I didn't say. Affords them a brick. Wagon have been setting up in a strange kind of 5-2 offense. This time it looks probably a little bit more traditional, where they're sitting Lavis out in the lane. Lavis goes and he looks long, and Greenie's going to hit him with a disc, but it can't, doesn't have any air on it. Greenie didn't like that one as soon as it came out of his hand. And Magnus are going to run quickly.
Gav Moore on the disc. Finds a nice swing to Beck Carmen.
It's a great cut from Beck.
Getting up high to make sure, but then just misfires past Mark Wee. Maybe he was... I think she thought he was cutting a bit faster or wider or something, but came out all wrong. Wagon back on the attack with Greenie. Let's see if he can put a bit more muscle on his long shots if needed. Finds Dallywater. He's got 3 women downfield in a horizontal. And 4 much closer to three others much closer to the disc. Who's going to get into the space? Finds Greenfield with a diving catch. He's got Lavis going deep, doesn't go for it.
Good break.
Water again, not finding anything he likes.
Didn't have a mark, so he should be okay for now.
Greenfield waiting for something. It's found Jess Stoddard.
Good grab under pressure.
Yeah, Jess Stoddard's been playing really well this whole tournament.
Stephen Dallywater is popping a flare up on the far sideline, completely unmarked. Gav's playing really loose on him, but he can't get involved in the action.
Lavis keeping it calm, laying it off back to Greeny. These two happy to work it all day between them until they see something tasty upfield.
So, oh, great D.
Lacey with an unbroken hand gets that block.
Well baited from Lacey.
Andrews. Well, heads up from Stoddard, might have had a touch on that. Finds Wentworth. And Neil streaking up the line. Oh, Gav Moore, apologies. Andrews finds the ever-moving Moore. Andrews working hard to try and get free.
Oh, at least he's down. She okay? Jeez, you want to see a player go down at any time, much less when they've got a cast on. Would have stung. Be interested to see what the count's coming in here on. Simon, I don't know if you can hear from where you are, but there did sound like a little bit of a high count. Okay, uncontested foul, so it's going to be coming back to 0. Gav strikes. That's the goal. That's Andrews with the goal. And now Lavis is down.
Marquis with the goal.
And we're going to see if Lavis is okay. Might need to borrow Lacey's cast. He's holding his hand. Just an awkward bid for him, but he's up and about. Pompey Magnus team helped him out more than they did. Got 3-2.
4-2?
4-2. Sounds better.
Got the 2-goal pip. So I know the Pie Wagon like a fight though. They won their game, their semi-final against Hills, 12-11, after having a comfortable lead. So that was.
Yeah, and Hills just didn't go away. And Simon, you did the Magnus Calypso Squid game. How was that side of the coin?
Pompey just had a lot of control of the offense, and I was just watching defensively then. They were paying a lot of attention to what Tim Lavis was doing. Mark Wee initially started with the matchup, standing deep with him. And the side was imploring him to get underneath and make the throw go over the top, and eventually Lavis had to get closer involved into the play. So smart control of the defense there by Pompey Magnus.
And Pie Wagon back on offense. Going up the side to Greenfield. Got a lot of yards there, and Greenfield finds a streaking folks. Lefty makes a great bid. It's too hard for him though.
Looked good out of the hand.
It did.
Lefty with the bid, couldn't reel it in. That'll be Michael Henry Thomas with the DS lefty marking him. Pompey in a traditional vertical, playing in the middle, and Neil goes out to the break side, collects not to shoot, goes back to Henry Thomas. Swing went up, not completed. And Newcastle are going to walk it in. Holly Reeve just about bobbling out of her hand. Greeny's going to the disc. Stoddard in the dump position. Greeny goes, looks to isolate to hit the greening.
Greeny to greening.
Yeah. Yeah, usually people would be right for thinking that we're butchering names and calling people the same. We're not in this case. There are 3 Stoddards, a Greenfield and a Greening. So we're not being lazy. Newcastle's not a big place. And all of, a lot of sisters and wives and cousins, not obviously more than one of those boxes, even though it is Newcastle. But yes, very close-knit community up there. That throw from Greenfield had to be perfect.
It did, and it was.
The Magnus guys read that very early on, and they had to at the disc, but it was close enough. Sorry, the throw was accurate enough that no one else had a bit at it.
Yeah, and as this game goes on, Pompey Magnus are undefeated this tournament, so if Wagon managed to come back and get a bit of a lead, it could put the jitters up Pompey Magnus. I don't know if they've actually trailed in any game, strutting their way through all of these teams.
Oh, certainly the semi. I mean, the semi was a thumping in the end. Both semis were close, 5-8 at half, but the second halves were very, very different. Wagon forced to get it done in double game point, and Pompey Magnus having a pretty effortless second half. And I think that'll actually serve Wagon a bit better as we watch Pompey Magnus now moving out against what we think is the transition zone. Beck Carmen with the disc, dumping back to Gav. Gav throws, unmarked flick. Denya sits on it, brings it in. Denya looks inside, hits Michael Henry Thomas. Henry Thomas has kneeled out the back, instead opts for the more disciplined option. That's to Sarah Wentworth. Wentworth to Holly. Holly Reeve going under to Dens. Denya wants to go upstairs, decides against it. High count. Wentworth is there, safe pair of hands. Wentworth has Mike kneeled on the open side. Had to do a little bit of work, but got it. And he unloads a backhand, flowing into the corner. Gav has to toe the line, does, and that's a goal. Nicely done from Pompey Magnus, slicing through the transition zone and then adjusting well when the matched defence came out.
This looks so comfortable, like this, they do this every single day, not just at the weekend.
Yeah, disciplined offence, been the tale for both teams. That's why they're here. And then every now and again, flashes of brilliance on the defensive side as well. So, Hal, so those are the scores that you got for other games here. Is that?
Yeah, for Wagon, they've played a good old 8 games. This is their 9th game of the weekend. Everyone's feeling a little bit tired, I think, but so they've got an extra game under the belt than Pompey Magnus, who didn't need to play a pre-semi. So Wagon have got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 wins, 2, and just the 1 loss.
The 1 loss to Meraki.
Yeah.
Unusual. Meraki finishing definitely in the 5 to 8 bracket.
They
Yeah,
finished 6th in the end, just losing to VLS by a couple of points in the previous time slot. A lovely deep pull, showing how that wind has dropped now.
That's a great pull.
All the way to the middle back of the end zone. Fielded nicely and up to Greenfield. Stoddard now. Nice low rising throw to Stoddard. He's got a few options, but goes for the big, deep shot to Lavis, and it's perfect. Perfectly into his path.
That is unreal. Get down to Simon. Simon, what was the view on the sideline from that one? Does it look as pretty on the sideline as it did from up here?
It did. Being able to hear what both teams are saying, so Newcastle originally set up a flood stack and it was immediately recognised by Pompey Magnus, so they closed in on Lavis at the start. But then when they all faded out, Lavis took it upon himself to take that middle of the field. First hoe didn't come off and he took off straight to the end zone. So bit of heads-up recognition from both teams on offence and defence there.
And that's interesting because it was actually Gav Moore went to Lavis to kind of give him some double coverage, and Gav's player was Lefty, who ended up sending that disc. And when you don't actually have a mark for the first couple, you can really take the field in, assess your options. There was a mark on by the time he threw, but by that stage it was too late, and that's probably what contributed to the throw being so perfect. So I guess what I'm saying is Gav played proper defence. That's the lesson that I want Gav to take away from me, because he should listen to me.
Well, maybe he just wants to keep this game interesting.
We can't blame him for that. That's good, because what are we at? 5-4?
5-4.
Thank you, Gav.
And
another great pull.
Another pommy, yeah. Chris Hill, he's probably my favourite puller in the country. Sorry, definitely, not probably. And Thomas getting it on the... Denya... Gav Moore now, not worrying about defence, all on offence now, heading the game. Beck Carmen, laying it back to Reeve. There's a call.
Mike Neal, filthy that a pick has been called. He's looked up to the box. Yes, Mike. Rhinomus Collider was probably about 3 different players.
Not sure what help we can give them here. Nice round break, dump from Carmen. Finds Thomas. Inside to Perkins. Perkins has been working hard all weekend as well. Lovely inside break, but it's plucked out by Chris Hill. Not in my green field, he says.
Chili do. Chili's going.
Stoddard now with not a deep enough flick to Chile. Thomas to Reeve on the outside upfield. Neil lays a high one back to Thomas. He's got an open Carmen, but he decides doesn't want it. Finds Reeve again, keeping it safe and short. Reeve going for the deep to Ewan. Lovely job.
Lovely throw. That's such a nice throw. Tired bodies out there. A couple of people on their haunches. Excellent throw by Holly Reeve.
Yeah, there's a lot of good throws out there. She's definitely high on that list.
Chile did well to get that turn as we watch Holly's throw into the end zone. Did well not to put too much on it. We've seen a couple go out the back, a couple of hucks and a couple of pulls going out the back to just catch too much air, but she kept it low enough.
Holly actually played with Wagon at World Clubs.
She did, yeah.
Yeah, so bit of a turncoat going on here.
Oh, having a good enough time just to keep it going. They asked her, they said, is your name Stoddard or Greenfield? She said no, and they said, well, jump right in. We've got too many of them already. Chile was off the leash there on Gav as well, deep, but throw just couldn't get deep enough. So Pompey Magnus now with a pull. It's going to be Dens. Stays on side. Pull not as good as Chile's, not nearly as good as Chile's. It's all over though. As we watch Wagon get their offense kicked off. Lefty. He goes and he likes the backhand again. He said it was pretty good the first time. The second one's going to be even better because Greening's going to pluck it in. She can't. Hard to track. It was coming over. She was having to back up and kind of track it as she was retreating.
Yeah,
Had
she
a
went
bit too much float.
Went to meet it a bit early. And she might have had it if she just kept her trajectory straight.
So Dens will bring it up. Lavis marking him. Dens being force flick. Goes the hammer upstairs, and that is no good. They've got a chance here. I-beam. Lavis with the disc in the corner. No real cutters coming in except for Greening, despite a great bid. I'm not sure who that was over on the far side. Was
Danny
it Danny?
Alexander.
Yeah. Greening having a stellar tournament. I don't, to be honest, know much about Eliza Greening, but she's having an absolute blinder this weekend. I've watched a couple of games and she's legit.
Scoring a lot of goals?
Yeah, a lot of goals. Very quick. I mean, if you're catching that isolated out in the end zone on Danny Alexander, I believe she's quite a good player as well.
Yeah, she's doing something right.
Yeah. You know who wasn't doing something right? Paul Denyer. Not his finest moment. We'll keep it positive, but you do need to call a spade sometimes, Huss, and that was no good. And his team wouldn't have liked it either because their whole thing is play boring, not boring, play balanced, calm, no surprises offense. I'll call it no surprises offense.
Consistency.
Yeah. But as you said before, Huss, maybe they just want to keep the game interesting. Maybe the likes of Gav and Dens are helping us out, doing us a favour, because now we've got a game that's 6-5.
Yeah, no one likes a walkover game.
No.
So I think they'd be happy to have a sudden death win for sure. Thomas goes for the big flick straight away. Neil running it down, keeps his pace up. It's got to. And did his feet. He didn't change his
Sidelines marking goal.
steppage at all.
Sidelines.
Goal, very
goal.
comfortable.
The man is a dead set star. It's his second goal of the game to go with his 1D. He had to get on his bike there. He's got to get those big runaway sticks going. He's got big long legs and he needed to use them. Obviously a slip play from Pompey Magnus. He was gone before the pull had even been caught.
Yeah, it was a two-throw goal. Two-throw point.
A lot of chatter going on the sideline between the Wagon teams there, Simon. We'll get down to you in a second, but what's the general tone like from both the Pompey guys and the Wagon team?
Both teams still pretty relaxed at the moment. I was just paying more attention to the crowd there in the Keith Lawrence stand. When that throw went up to Mike, the buzz in the crowd, knowing that he was going to do well to
Big
reel
fella
that
had
in.
to go,
There was a bit of a noise, but big cheer went up when he was able to reel that in before the. I think it was about half a step inside the back line there. But both sidelines still pretty relaxed. No tension yet. They realise it's still plenty of time to go. There's still many goals to be scored.
And as we've seen a brick get pulled, but it was called as offside, you probably just want to take the brick there in that case too. Simon, while we've still got you, the Keith Warren stand, of course, being a Ballarat native, you would know the great Keith Warren. So can you tell us why the stand was named after him?
A legend of the Sebastopol Football Netball Club. As you see, many grandstands at country football and netball grounds. They're just named after the people who've been at the club for 40 years. I don't think we'll have anyone serving that long an ultimate just yet to have a grandstand named after them, but...
I disagree. I think probably next week we can set up the John Greenfield,
stand.
Who saw that one coming? All right, so we've got it underway for real now as Wagon will kick off their offense.
And speak of the devil, we've got Greenfield collecting the pull. He's got a horizontal stack. He's got lefty went deep, didn't choose it. He's got Folksy now. Another left-handed player on the Wagon. Not enough separation from Greening for him to choose her, and
You have to run it. Turn.
it's a call.
It was either a quiet call or a late call. Benefit of the doubt to Folksy. Obviously, he's felt some contact. Paul will be saying that he didn't feel that it affected, but let's get down to the field, see if we can hear what the two players are talking
What's
about.
the outcome? That was contested. What's your stalk out on, Dan? What's your stalk out on? What's your stalk out on? Oh, it's uncontested. That was uncontested. Sorry, I thought it was contested. Stalk one.
Paul Denya's octave range is so low, it's very hard to actually understand him, Steve. You're not the first.
So uncontested foul, folks. He gets it back and gets another chance at a safe throw. Finds Lavis, gets it back again. It's got good option in Millie deep. Looks it off. Finds Lavis. Greening now again.
That's up.
Low throw to Greenie, who managed just to pick it up.
It's not the first time Greeny's had to dig one out of the ground. I think that was up. What did you think, Huss?
Yeah, I thought it was up. It was right behind the ladder here on this camera rig, but
Simon from the sideline believes it's up. All right, up's been supported by both the advisors and the sideline. Just getting it done on the reg is John Greenfield.
so Greenfield's got Folksy downfield, lefty downfield. And goes for the dump reset. Lavis having a look.
Very deep pass.
Yep, we've got a couple of the stacked really far too deep, taking away the options to score a goal from here. Find Lavis, and he goes around to Stoddard, but it's not a good throw.
That's just content to happen when your offense is a little bit rudderless and there's not that much control. They kind of try and make something up or improvise on the go rather than doing what they actually train and drill, which would be to have a set stack, have that shorter, rather than make it up as they go along. So Henry Thomas coming in from the sideline. He throws the flick. It's going to catch the air and they're going to have to battle the sideline. It was touched by the offender. And Mike Neal, probably the first layout he hasn't caught, but it didn't matter because it was on the sideline. Wagon will get it back.
Greenfield goes for the under to Lavis. He's got lefty going deep, takes it straight away, but we've got Henry Thomas contesting and gets his hand on first. Great read.
Yeah, really nice work. To be fair to Wagon, better. At least they had an offense that was they were playing a Horo, which is pretty deep for a Horo. I mean, they're coming out over halfway. Elected to play the Horo, but you could see that set play where they're a little bit scared of Lavis going deep, so they gave him the under, and then he wanted to hit lefty. But as you say, Henry Thomas reading it really well, knowing what that play would be and getting his body in the way.
Yep, and Thomas now getting the disc in his hands. Finds a big swing to Lisi. Moore collects it, looks back inside to Denya, keeping the disc moving fast. Wentworth, it's too low for her. Through her hands.
Yeah, that's not on Wentworth. Denya, that throw was lower than his voice. Greenfield out to lefty. There's a pick call. So Wagon deciding that this time the disc is deep enough to warrant a vertical stack. We're going to have a chat on the field. They're playing 2 out three out between lefty Greenfield and Lavis. 4 in the stack. No one moving in, and there's a violation. I think a little bit of a false start.
Wagon in the end zone as if they've got the disc right on the edge of it, but there's a good 10 metres between the disc and the front end zone line.
I wouldn't be surprised to see Greening coming into the position, but no, it's Stoddard that goes. Tries to get the foot race to the front cone, but now they've got a couple there. Lefty goes with the flick break, but that's why lefties don't throw flicks. Just throw backhands. If you're left-handed, just throw a backhand. Don't worry about the flicks. Denya comes in, makes amends this time. His second throw is much better. Henry Thomas getting a little bit of attention from lefty, but nothing in it. Dens comes across. It's Wentworth, I think. Back to Gav. Gav hits Henry Thomas, and 3 go deep. Lacey's one of them. Not on it. Denya covered by Folksy up the line. They make it work. It's Wentworth again, but that's a bailout. Lacey has to get up high with that cast, does so. They're at their equivalent with their brick mark, but they are in on the sideline, and there's a hand block. Unreal hand block. That's Jess Stoddard getting the hand block. Well done, Jess.
Beautiful work. Now, can Wagon just get this offense under their control? They need to take a little breath. They've got open options. They've had open options.
Andy, what's your medal?
Call it timeout. Time to reset. Time to take that breath. They've got their timeout.
Really? Who are you playing with? Cat.
It's been a very back and forth point, and now we've got a chance to reset. Have a think about what they're both doing. And we'll just have a little shoot down to our sideline, Talbot.
Thanks, Claire. So just going to check in with some of the other results out of the final placing games earlier this morning. So down to the 13th to 16th bracket, we had Vanguard defeating Hive to take out 15th place. And the Project Lad Ballarat Ultimate rematch for 13th saw Project Lad come up successful in that one. F Troop out of Canberra defeated Sublime 13-12 to take out 11th place. Credo got up over CAF. New Zealand defeating Sydney there for 9th place. And we haven't seen the scores from the top 8 bracket yet. We know earlier that VLS got the better of Meraki and that Caleb Squid took out the bronze medal just in the game before this one, 13-10.
Thanks, Simon. I wouldn't mind getting your take, given that you've been pretty close to this tournament for a while, is who you saw the bolters and who also be reasonably disappointed with their placings as well, if there were any surprises. But more importantly, this game, pretty important point in the context of this game, with if Pompey score, it's an 8-5 going into half. Wagon, they score, it's obviously 7-6 and a much different affair. So, Huss, what are you thinking that Greenfield needs to do?
He just needs to take the open options. He's got them. He just needs to wait for him. I think that safety point is what they need right now. They've had their timeout. Get their cool heads on, and Greenie's on.
The stack doing a lot of work, but not for much reward. Stoddard ends up putting one, but that's that pressure. It's exactly what you said not to do, Huss.
Yep.
Letting the pressure get to you, and so there's either a pick or a violation. I think it's a pick. It's a pick, which is a shame because that slowed Pompey Magnus's run and gun pressure. It's self-checked by Dens, gets to Wentworth. Wentworth throws nice, leading pass out, easy as you like to go, but there is a call, another pick. And Gav is thrilled about that, as everyone who knows Gav would imagine he would be. Nice throw from Wentworth. Fortunately for naught. And Wagon will have to work to scramble. They've got to scramble. They're going to send a few into the end zone. They still have a few behind the disc and no mark on the thrower. Greening does well. Wentworth does the exact same throw to the exact same person for the exact same outcome. And Hussey, that's half.
Certainly is. Pretty brave to do the same move. If it didn't come off, you'd feel a bit silly, but executed well. Back to man. Back to Gav. More. Half, so Wagon have a lot to think about, and Pompey have got a lot to be happy about right now.
I don't think Pompey are going to be too down on themselves. I mean, their last game, their semi, they were obviously on the other side of it. They were up 8-5, and that game ended up going double game point. So I certainly don't think the game's over by any stretch, but they do need to change a few little things. And like you said on that last point, you have two options around how you play that. You either, there was a lot of activity in the stack. They weren't really getting that reward for effort. Eventually, the handlers kind of just had enough and decided to send one up, rather than what you're saying around, look, if it's not there, it's got to sort itself out. But that's what the handlers are there to do, is to bounce it back between each other until the stack sorts it out.
Yeah, maybe adjusting their stack to come in a little bit. They've had that horizontal stack very deep for most of the game, only leaving the occasional streak deep as an option.
Cool, well, maybe we'll take 60 seconds. We might take a quick break. We'll see if we can get Simon to maybe grab some people coming out of half from each team and have a quick word to them and then see what the messaging is without divulging any state secrets. But we'll be back in about 60 seconds.
Welcome back to the second half of the final of the Australian Mixed Ultimate Championships. We've got Pompey in the lead, 8-5 over Wagon in this exciting game. We'll just head down to Simon Talbot for a quick chat on the sideline.
Thanks, Claire. So just poking my head in both huddles at half time there. The message from Captain Tim Lavis of Wagon was just adjusting their offense just to counter the poaching strategy that Pompey Magnus are using. Pompey Magnus was more just a general sort of pump-up thing going on. They were split up talking in smaller groups of 3 or 4 rather than one big huddle, but they're looking just to use, expend all the energy they've got left in this final half an hour of play.
Yep, so we can expect to see some great defensive bids and a lot of fight out here today in the second half. Colwell on the disc finds Stoddard, who makes a very dodgy throw into the ground in front of Davey. On the counter-attack, we've got Neild. Apologies, more to Thomas. Finds an easy one to Danny Alexander. It's a great way to start the second half of Pompey.
Yeah, not what Pie Wagon would have wanted.
Pie Wagon haven't scored for 4 points now.
Fortunately, just a little bit of indecision from lefty, from Chris Stoddard. He's pretty filthy on himself walking back. I think the old baseball cap copped a little bit of attention, and he's still going on with it. But his teammates will get around him. Very tight-knit crew up in Newcastle.
Yeah.
9-5, not insurmountable either, Huss.
It's not insurmountable, and they're a gritty team. They'll fight this to the death. Wind still just gently breezing from right to left. Sun out in full. It's been a long weekend. Lots of games in these two big pools, which is a different format this year. It's been a bit of whinging from the less fit folk, and a lot of happy smiles from the players who like to run and run and run and run and run.
Pull from Neil, goes up. Yeah, not as good as Chile, but Chile separates his AC joint basically every time he pulls, so question whether it's worth it. Lovely gain of first throw to Chris Folkes. Looks like a bit of a straight up look from Gav. Tim Lavis, as they move into an away force. Lavis hits Folkesy, who again finds himself in space. Folkes moves to one of the Stoddards. I think that's one of the Stoddards.
No, Daisy Ewan.
Ewan, sorry. And the count gets high, so she puts one up over the stack. They line up. They make it work. Colwell, Paddy, and Stoddard all lining up for it. And Haas, if they bugger that one up, you might just, you know what? Let's jump back in the car, head back up to Coal Country.
Yeah, it was a really good look over the top on a high store count. She saw most of her team.
The throw was unreal.
Having a party, and yeah, I mean, often in that situation, you know, you might get people leaving it for each other.
Stand there staring at each other, and it hits the deck.
I thought you had it, but
yeah.
In this case, they've done well. They all looked like they wanted it.
All right, so Chillbot, Chris Hill, he'll be the one pulling. And given that we've both talked him up now, Huss, almost guaranteed he'll bugger this one up.
He hasn't let me down yet.
He absolutely rips it.
Yeah.
He gives it everything. He's one of the best pullers in Australia.
I think he uses every muscle in his body and as much spin as he possibly can, and it all goes into that disc.
He's a different cat. Dead set genius as well, I think. I think he's a Mensa guy. And that one is going to the end zone with no stress at all.
Thomas lays it off to Vidla. The stack is a long way away. They've got Neil deep, and Thomas goes for it, but it's too deep, too early. But it's been macked on, and Neil collects it up.
Oh no.
Davey not happy about that. Catch your D's. If you
He
can.
got a solid piece of it too. But you cannot give Mike Neal the sniff at any of this. Mike Neal reels in his third goal, his 8th of the day. He's on the tear. Going ham, as the millennials would say. Apparently I'm a millennial, am I?
Probably.
Don't feel like it. That's why I'm up here rather than out there. Don't feel like it. The 3 Cadbury Dairy Milks I had at half time don't make me feel like it either. So, Pompey getting a little lucky. Pie Wagon getting unlucky at the precise time they don't need it. But Huss, if you're a leader on that team, and I'm sure you've been in this position, you've led teams for, I was going to say a decade, but I don't want to assume. you've got to you've got to praise the process, like the fact that Davey was right there, the fact that they did play really good defence. You've got to just say, okay, cool, we did everything right, we didn't get the outcome, but if we keep doing that, we're going to get more right than we do wrong.
Yeah, of course. They did do everything right, and it was a. I wouldn't have backed that put because Neil was
So
already
deep.
so deep.
Yeah.
And the defence was there, the defence touched it. Yeah, you've got to let some of those go and just shake them off. But it's just, they're in a tough position because they've only had one goal in the last 5 points, Wagon. So, you know, they've got to start doing something to try and close the gap. And you've got to try and stop every chance Pompey have now to score. And Stoddard on the disc now, finding it over the top to Folksy, who beautifully pulls it down. Lefty, sorry. Stoddard to Stoddard. Now Folksy has the disc. Chris Folks, former Melbourne man, now based himself up in Newcastle. Finds Lavis. And an easy front, well, semi-easy front corner.
Just Stoddard, great grab.
Yeah.
Great grab under double coverage, bit of pressure.
Yeah, I
Nice,
like
gets him in there.
the oomph they had in that point. They just ran hard, through well.
Let's get down to Simon Talbot on the sideline.
Thanks, Andrew. Just noticing in probably the last 20 minutes or so of play, a few cracks that have started to appear in Wagon's throwing, just missing them just by half a hand width or two. But that point, much more clinical, much more structured, and the throws were just on point. So no surprise they ended up with the goal.
Yeah, and pleasing to see for them. They need to start clawing this deficit back pronto before time runs out. We've still got a good 30 minutes of this game. It's got quite a good pace to it.
I find mixed Nats finals, and I'm not inferring anything here, but I find it similar to wrestling. The last 4 or 5 mixed Nats finals, I always find them going down to within 1 or 2 points. They managed to make it very enjoyable for the crowd at the time when it matters. So I'm fully backing Wagon in here. I've just got a feeling that they're going to launch a little bit of a comeback.
Good stuff.
And we don't pre-record this competition, by the way, so we don't know anything. All right, Mike Neal gets the under to Danny Alexander, who is unmarked. There's a pick call. I don't know if it was involving Danny, but I don't think the disc is going to go back.
Perkins there near the back of the stack, open deep. Will Alexander put it? Yes, she will. Goes straight for Perkins, who has to read it over her top, but she does.
Good read. That's a really good read.
Yeah, and I mean, I liked the position Danny Alexander put that disc in, but I think Perkins would have liked it to come down a little bit quicker as Daisy Ewan was sniffing down her neck. Well, we're creeping up to the Pompey are creeping up towards the 15 mark. Still think there's time for.
Absolutely,
Wagon.
I'm backing them in. Wagon. Backing them in. Greenfield, the Stoddards, Chilbot. Most of them are actually off right now, but anyway, don't worry about that. Did I say Tim Lavis? No.
No, you didn't. We've got
No, good.
Lavis. We've got
Didn't mean to. All right.
Stoddard.
Nice pull from Holly Reeve. There's a little bit of air to it. Hopefully it'll come down, but it's holding, and it's just out. Nice pull from Holly. Lands out of bounds. Tim Lavis getting confused between his offside calls and his brick calls. Horror look. They hit wide, lefty wide. Chris Folks is going, but 2 went, so he doesn't do it. Lavis using a bit of body to get in front of Andrews. And Andrews gets in there, and Lavis has called a foul. Tim Lavis has called he's called offside, as Henry Thomas has pointed out. I think he actually means a foul. Let's see if we can cue up the replay. I'm not sure if we missed anything. We are on the far side, but
There was a lot of elbow contact between the two of them.
We'll have a look. Maybe a little bit of contact in the side when Andrews was reaching up.
Lavis likes good chat, so he'll be enjoying this. But there are time limits on these conversations.
Yeah, Anson involved. I think it will be going back to the thrower.
Contested foul.
So the body positioning from Andrews was quite good, but Lavis obviously feeling that when he was making that bid, that was when the contact came, which affected his ability to catch a disc. Fair enough. I don't think either player getting too spicy, which is nice to see. Still coming in on 5. And I reckon we might see one go. No, good patience from Lefty. Comes under, goes to Greening. Nice throw from Greening. And that's an excellent grab, but there's another call now. Another call.
Millicent Crow calling a foul, I think.
Again, I think a similar situation. The Wagon player feeling a little bit of contact. We look on the replay. I think it must have been earlier. By the time that that disc was uncontested, yeah. I think by the time the disc was at those players, the Pompey player was in front, but I think it was coming earlier in the cut.
And Crow now looking for an option. Finds Lavis dancing around behind her. He's got all his players, most of his players in the end zone. Manages to find an undercut from Jess Stoddard. Across the field to Folksy. Andrews nearly having a touch on that, coming off his dump mark. Folksy desperately looking now, finds Lavis, who's working super hard.
Pompey ratcheting up the pressure.
Lavis finds Stoddard again.
Pick a few back. Oh, and a foul. Pick and a foul. The players there didn't hear the pick call, and then there was a foul. So we'll see a drop in the count, just not too sure how much. See if we can get something from the game advisors. Or Simon, and they are just going to just have a discussion around what constitutes a foul on the mark.
And it's Gina Colwell on the disc, having a chat with Holly Reeve.
Dave, you're getting fresh. Every breath. Getting ready to go.
The pressure from Pompey Magnus, the defensive pressure that they're setting up.
Yeah, using everything they have now. There's only this game left. Only this half of this half left.
Pompey one game less, I think you said, Huss, than Powagan. Powagan has to go to a pre-semi.
That's right. So they've got a few
All
more.
those little things count, don't they?
Yeah, litres of juice.
So I think we've hit 30 seconds here. We probably just want to speed this bad boy up. We're going to be bringing the stall count in on 4. Thank you, Steve. And
Colwell
there's
goes
a shot.
up.
Gav Moore reading it really well, putting his body in the way. Lefty having to pull out, and they will have another chat here. Will they or not? So Gav Moore put his body in the way, and I think that's saying Lefty, it affected Lefty's ability, but Lefty's going, okay, enough's enough. We've had 3 cracks at it, and if we're not getting it right by now, you guys probably deserve one. So it'll be Paul Daniel with the disc. No dump being set up at the moment. They're playing 6 in the stack. Wouldn't be surprised to see Lacey come into the dump position. She does, and then goes up the line. That leaves Gav, who goes break side and then comes back into the stack. So a set play there as Pompey struggling to move it out of their end zone. Look at the under now to Andrew. Andrew throws the flick, good flow. Carmen cutting well under. But Carmen moves it back to Dan's. Daniel looking at the inside, throws the flick. He's got Andrew going deep if he wants, doesn't take. Daniel doing well, getting open, still very close to those people in the dump. Holly Reeve comes in to Andrew. Andrew has Gav, wasn't the most convincing throw, but Gav was right there, and Lacey throws from her knees to Gav, and they know about it. They enjoy it. I think Lefty pulled out of a bit, or may have made a little bit of contact with Gav. I think he's a bit tender, or possibly just ancient.
Something you'll notice about the ancient Gav is that while he's cutting, he barely takes his face off the disc. He's cutting, always looking back, ready for anything. That's how he catches those difficult, awkward ones that come out from his teammates sometimes.
Did we find out what Gav actually does before we throw down to Simon Talbot, he's an actuary,
An actuary
is he?
and a
Okay.
father,
Well, I'm just
yeah.
going to have to look up what an actuary actually means. Simon Talbot on the sideline.
Thanks, Andrew. Just a bit of insight on what happened on that last discussion that happened in Wagon's end zone. So Stoddard wanted to call dangerous play on the move that Gavin Moore did, but Captain Tim Lavis actually stepped in and said, no, Gav kept that absolutely clean. You're in no danger at all. So told him to withdraw it.
Nice play. Well done from Tim Lavis. Tim and Gav probably play a similar way. Certainly nudging a line, but very, very, very rarely only crossing it. And I think there's an element of reciprocity there, that they play the game hard, but always within the spirit of the game. So nice to see that Lavis holding that line even when it wasn't to his advantage.
All right, and Wagon. Time to go.
Yeah, spot on. You're going to make me look pretty foolish, aren't they, Huss?
Yep, and Greeny. Oh, sorry, Chili. Chris Hill looking off the deep. Safely takes the under. I feel like Chris Hill might take a trip deep soon.
You're spot on.
He's coming under now. He's still wanting to take control of the disc.
Do
while he
something,
can.
Greeny.
He's got a Colwell deep, which is a bit too deep. Close up, Wagon.
Great grab.
Yeah, lovely grab under pressure from
That's Paddy, is it?
Patty. Yep.
Oh, nice bid from Stoddard as well.
Neil picking up. Looking for a quick one. Does he get one through Perkins? Yep.
Unreal. Excellent throw, excellent grab. That's going to make life hard. 13-7. Seen crazier scenes before, but Wagon certainly have their work cut out for them as we go down again to the sidelines. Simon Talbot.
Thanks, Andrew. Just what I've noticed with Pompey Magnus, they're running a very short rotation, only running through about 11 or 12 players getting most of the game time, but we're starting to see some of their depth players get some game time, which is sure a sign as any that team thinks that the game's in the bag.
But they haven't got that much of a gap to actually put Sasha Vidler on. So can we go and find Sasha and go, right, given you've done bugger all, why don't you come and have a chat to us and make yourself useful?
No, he was last seen on a milk carton somewhere. No one knows where he's gone.
He is. Pop a flare. Check in on Facebook if you're around, Sasha, because we have not seen you anywhere in sight of this of the rectangle.
Oh, Sasha's caught 2 pulls, I think.
Did he? All right. We'll give him something then.
Didn't drop him.
No, well, we would have given it to him if he had have done that as well.
But yeah, he'll still be able to claim the title if it's
Oh, mate,
taken.
he'll have a medal and we won't. Huss will be sitting up here. Nothing but a chocky bar and a can of Coke Zero. Sash will have a gold medal around his neck, which is what Pompey Magnus are about to do if they can keep it up for the next 2 points. Ryan Davey and Tim Lavis trying to change that case. Lavis heads out wide to Folksy. Folksy moves it back, wants to get up his handle up the line. A little bit dangerous, a bit of attention, and Mike Neal just picked the pocket of, I think it's Lefty out there, and says, how'd you like that? You like that trick, young blood? And gives him the disc back. Very close, so he was right on his hammer there.
Stoddard finding up the line, not on. Lavis, will he go for a curly one? No, he's gone for a high release inside. Very nice throw to Davey. Davey lunging, goes for the flick back to Lavis. He's got a streaking Folksy, doesn't like him.
Throwing goals.
Just wants Davies.
Lavis pulling out the party tricks. Every trick except throwing goals.
Yeah, they've lost about 40 yards, 30 yards here. And they're going 1-2 up the line.
Well done, Tim.
Crow cutting it over and over in the end zone. Stoddard now.
Be good lefty.
And
Greening.
they get the goal through Greening. Greening in the goal again.
Third, I think. Definitely second, maybe third.
Keeping the game alive.
3 goals for Greening. They went the long way around Huss, but they got there. It was the scenic route. Lavis showing a lot of, well, we'll call it composure. We'll give him a bit of the doubt. They scored the goal, so we'll call it composure. But he had Folksy in a paddock on the open side.
Maybe he had a fly in his eye, couldn't quite see.
Right, yep. Maybe that was it. Very nice. Even though they did, as you said, they gave up too much ground and the stack didn't adjust.
Yeah.
But Lavis and Davies running some give goes to bridge the gap, and then nice goal from lefty to Greeny.
It's not often you do see the stack adjusting in that position, though. Really.
Spot on.
Yeah. Once the stack's in there,
Yeah.
it's happy to stay
It's a
there all day.
psychological thing. It's weird.
Yeah.
They're like, oh no, but wait, hold on.
But
We
we're
were
here.
looking at scoring on end zone and scoring a goal.
But then they've given up those deep yards.
So Chili Pool is Pool once again on point. This will be back corner, close enough.
Absolutely delicious. Thomas and Daniel casually getting some yards before the defense is on. And Wagon have gone with the zone.
Fair enough. You got to change something.
Definitely. We've got Ewan running at the front with Sinclair. It's broken through now. They've gone to man, or if not, they should go to match. Lavis reaching out, unable to get his hand on. Denya kneeled now, having a look.
No mark.
And he's got two underneath, Wentworth and Alexander. Alexander takes it. That puts them within 1 point of the championship.
Correct. I think that is now game point, which means we see a pretty funky dance move from the advisors, don't we? Do
Yes,
they
we
do that,
do.
or is it only on?
No,
Yeah,
they do.
Yeah.
Every game point.
All right. So Wagon going to have to create some history here if they want to have a look. 14-8. It would go down as one of the all-time greatest choke jobs in the history of mixed ultimate.
I'm ready for that.
Oh, I'm keen. Look, it's 3 o'clock. I got nowhere to be. Got to go down to the local Pizza Hut. Ballarat, one of the last places to have the all-you-can-eat Pizza Huts. It's pretty special stuff.
I also went to my first drive-through bakery this morning.
Oh, Golden Nugget.
It's quite the experience.
The Golden Nugget. Yeah, there are a couple of Golden Nuggets up in Ballarat. Very special stuff. Good coffee at the Golden Nugget. Of course, anyone moving back through Ballarat should stop off in Buninyong, Crown Hotel.
Talking of bakeries, Wagon collecting at the pool now. It could be their last chance to keep Pompey from taking the title.
Bids. Oh, one streaming.
Chris Folks on the far sideline, bouncily marked. Chris Stoddard now finds Jess Stoddard.
Great flow.
Colwell just giving up there.
Here we go. Not completed. Good D, well read by Will Wong.
But
I haven't called his name much today, but he couldn't complete the throw, unfortunately. Greenfield picks up the disc, looks at lefty. Chris Stoddard moves to Chris Folks, runs onto it, moves forward. Stoddard goes up the line, grabs it.
yes.
So that is the last we will see of Wagon's offensive line. They can take a seat. It will be throwing to their defensive line if they're going to get it done from here as we prepare to throw to Simon downstairs. If they're going to get it done from here, it will be getting done on defense to bridge a 5-point deficit. Simon.
Thanks, Andrew. It's been a long season for Wagon. Almost 2 years of continuous top-level ultimate.
That's
they started with
too much. 2017.
They took two teams to Australian Division 2 Mixed Ultimate Championships. Carried that over into their Open and Women's season as players. Carried that through to the World Ultimate Club Championships. Carried it through to the State Championships this year through to here. So it's about 20 months of remaining at peak. And I think it's just, if it hadn't caught up with them before this weekend, it's definitely caught up with them now. They've done a fantastic job to get through to the final of a tightly competitive Mixed Nationals. So credit to them for pushing it as far as they have.
What do you reckon will be more battered, Simon? Physically, you're going to be more physically battered or financially battered after a 20-month campaign spanning, 2 or 3 different countries?
Financially, I don't know how they afford. The cost of living in Newcastle must be pretty low.
Well, the Australian government, we're back on coal now, aren't we? I think coal's in, so no one's more happy about that than the Newcastlerians. What do you call a Newcastlerian?
Newcastlonians? Not sure. By the way, they get free bathing down at the beach.
Simon
And
Talbot, do you generally know everything there is to know about trivia, or do you have anything on that? What do you call someone from Newcastle?
From Newcastle, Nova Castrian.
Over Castrian. If anyone is doing a trivia night and wants to win, make sure you take Simon Talbot. The guy is a walking encyclopedia. Pompey Magnus going to line up to put it in and win their 2018 Ultimate Championship. And that's it. We've got it.
Holly Reeve takes the goal, takes the championship.
Henry Thomas digging it deep to Holly, and it is a goal. People's kind of standing around. It was a little bit low key. Henry Thomas putting that flick up. People thinking it was perhaps going out of bounds, but Holly towed the line and kept it in.
15-9.
That's it. So Pompey Magnus take gold. Wagon will have to settle for silver after a 20-month campaign in which they're probably all battered and broke. And Calypsis took out the bronze over Hills, who had an impressive campaign, going down double game point in their semi. We know Meraki finished 6 behind, I believe it was VLS in 5th. After that, it all gets a little bit murky, but those are the teams that featured at the point end of the tournament. As always, we need to throw a special thanks out to the production crew, the volunteers, both the Ultimate volunteers and the people at the Sebastopol Sports and Netball Club. Huss, who am I missing? I'm probably missing heaps. The advisors.
Parents, kids.
Parents, kids, babies, fur babies. I think that's about it. The ladies at the canteen have been stellar. Some of the best dim sims I've had in a long time. Simon, is there anyone else we'd want to thank?
Yeah.
TD, the TD. I'm not sure who are you the TD, Simon? Anna Haynes, walking weapon.
Yep. And she's been reporting that the spirit's been generally good across the board, really high, and the game advisors definitely would agree. There's not been too many discussions to sort out, so that's been really quality to see at this high-level tournament.
I spoke to someone from CAF who won the Spirit Prize. They're rocking they're walking around with their medals, their Spirit Prize medals from their state competition. A lot of swag, a lot of arrogance saying, yeah, we've got this one locked up as well. So watch out to see if CAF pick up the National Spirit Prize, because they've really backed themselves in Andy Wood. I think that's about it. We'll wrap things up. Thank you very much, Huss. This was good fun.
Yep, thanks, Moz. We'll catch everyone next time.
All right, bye-bye.